Hello, everyone. Today, I have really a great pleasure to talk with Suzanne Clegg. She played really the key role in my healing journey. She helped me in this critical moment when I really didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't have solutions. And fortunately, I find you. And I would like to start by, if I can ask you to introduce yourself, explain what you do.
Okay. Yeah, so it's good to be here with you. It's good to see you. It's been like 3 years since we did
Yeah.
those like miracle sessions. Yeah. I am an acupuncturist and herbalist, a registered dietitian, um, a medical intuitive, and I specialize in energy medicine for cancer. And I've been doing that for about 12 years now. And before then, I did everything else under the sun. I'm a sound healer. You can imagine after 40 years of being a holistic health practitioner, you just keep learning more and more and more and more. So, a little bit of the story of how I got to be, how do I, like, why would you want to do that? Like,
Exactly.
don't all your patients just die? Like, what is that? And I said, no, actually, my husband was good friends with Bill Bankston. They were professors together at St. Joseph's College. And Bill Bankston was doing a bunch of research showing energy healing cures with mice. And I was sort of in the wings of all that. But I kind of like you, and you might, like your audience might say, they might feel like, okay, so she's a great healer. That's great. And she helped you, but what does that have to do with me? And I think I kind of did that with Bill back then, like 20 years ago. I met him 27 years ago. With I I was working with my husband and Bill Bankston were working together, and Bill was doing these researches with mice showing 100% cancer cure rates using a hands-on healing method.
And
And
by the way, I just stopped you right there. I just
uh-huh,
want to emphasize how amazing is that? Because
yeah,
I read that before that, when you treat normally, the mouse are dying after 27 days. No,
yes, 100% fatality rate.
it was
So to go
pretty exceptional. No, yeah.
Very exceptional. So to go from 100% fatality to 100% cure
Yeah.
um, in 14 peer-reviewed university studies over time and time again, the fact that it happens is irrefutable. Irrefutable. And you can read his book. Go to bangstonresearch.com if you want to hear all his stories. But what I was doing, what my career was doing in the sidelines, is I was going to picnics and like socializing with Bill and feeling like he was special. It was clear that he was able to do what he did because I was there at a picnic with somebody that had cured, and I was a holistic health professional. I sort of understood that out of the box things actually happen, and there's actually ways to understand how they work. They're not just miracle like random things. There's actually things you can do. So I appreciated that. But a part of me really thought that he was special. And one of his, even he did a research study showing where he only wanted completely skeptical graduate students to do his method. He really wanted them to really think it was a bunch of baloney. And they were able to cure the mice using his method.
And
Even with
again,
that,
just to pass the pause and emphasize that you don't need to actually believe in it. You don't need to like study it. You just need to
yeah,
do it
you need
to
to do it.
engage.
You
Yeah.
need to be curious about it. You have to be interested. So that's what I've found.
Mhm.
But I think Bill might even disagree with me. He might say, no, you don't even have to be curious. But in my clinical experience is that if you really don't care at all, you don't connect
Yeah.
to the process in a meaningful way. And you need to connect with curiosity, maybe wonder, maybe interest. And that's really, I think, important. So even with all this proof, I still, if somebody had cancer, I would send them over to Bill, and they would usually not see him. It was so funny, and he would be willing to do it for free back then. He just kind of was excited to see what he could do.
And
Um,
do you know why people have that hesitance
well, I
to
looked
do?
in myself because I was an acupuncturist, and I was a sound healer. I was a medical intuitive, And even I was feeling like, well, I can't cure cancer. I can't do that. And even the first few cures I had, it still kind of rocked my world. I was certainly happy. It was like, whoa, that was way easy. I did something, but I didn't do anything. There was this confusion inside me. So I thought that I was pretty open-minded, and maybe your viewers think that they're pretty open-minded. But I would say that that I had to get to a place inside me where life funneled me into this path. And what I've found in the cures that I've had, there's been somebody who introduced me to them, like with you. We had a mutual friend that introduced us. Without that, you might have looked at my website and said, maybe not, it just didn't really grab you. So like life sort of puts us in front of our healers, and it speaks to us deeply. And so now I feel like that's sort of how I tell if I have somebody I can really help, is that there's a sense of connection of like, oh, yeah, you're my next person. And we sort of recognize each other. So it's that. I find that people who are doing it just out of fear and just in their heads, without their heart involved, which doesn't mean they're believing, but there's like this interest, this liveliness of like, some reason I feel like doing this, this is really, really feels very compelling to me. So if you feel compelled by by this little conversation, I would say, check out my website, talk to Ewa more about me, like do something. I'll give you some things to follow through on. And if it's like, ho hum, maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not for you. And because last thing I want to do is blame the victim, or blame, somebody like, oh, if they'd just done it my way, they would have been alive. Like, I actually don't believe that. I think that we're guided. There's a part of us that sort of can smell if something is going to help us or not. And that being said,
I definitely also believe that, yes, that we are guided, and no blame, no games like this.
Yeah. And we all have our own path and all that kind of thing. But I know for me, when I decided to ask Bill to mentor me, I sort of had to be up against a wall, and there wasn't any place else to go. I had done the whole acupuncture routine, and I just was tired of pushing pins. I was senior faculty at the Acutonics Institute of Integrative Medicine, and I wasn't filling my classes, even though I was really, really, really good at sound healing. And it's almost like, oh, I need to work with Bill. And so, Bill, can you show me? And yes, he could. And so I would bring my cancer patients to him, and he mentored me and showed me, he tweaked me. And there was so much more to working with a naturally healing tumor than just learning his method. His method you can learn in an hour or a day or two, but the clinical experience of how to actually work with a naturally healing tumor is, I think, my big contribution that I can make now, because people can learn his technique very quickly, but can they get better? Yeah. And that's the difference. So I think when you and I worked, I think you and I both connected to that sense of destiny, and I think it helped. I think I've really thought a lot about how did Eva get better? What was different about her than with some of the ones that haven't worked so much? And I think there's like 12 different pieces to that. Yeah. Not just like, okay, we met and it worked and it was magic. Like, not at all. I think there were lots of things that lined up, and you can line them up if you want to. And that's what my work is to attract the people that can kind of be aligned up with where I'm at with my ability to help them line up even more.
I'm actually really happy that you mentioned that, because one of the things that I discuss with people I help with, which is mostly people who go through the cancer and their families who are overwhelmed and stressed, and they don't know how to deal with all the situation. How to actually introduce the healing method, because, for example, when they hear about chemotherapy or other therapies that are known for cancer, what they do, they go through the internet and they have some information about it, and although they know the result is unknown, and all of we know the things, they have this sensation of that they know this technique. And I was thinking that maybe you could explain a little bit more about what is happening during your session, and what is this healing, energy healing. So it's not so magical, but actually it is a technique that you can perform. And also, one of the things is, I also tell people, because I think that some people think that energy healing is just, oh, I will just sit down, put my hands, and and it's okay.
And if it doesn't work, well, that's God's will. Like, no, actually, it's a little more to it.
Exactly. And I would love to, if you could focus on that there is more to it, and there is some specific things that are done. It's not like random and that's why it doesn't work. No, it's like you wouldn't go for operation to someone who doesn't know what he's doing,
Right.
So it's this kind of information, if you can share.
So let's see, I've kind of broken it down into a way that people, because this magical thinking actually prevents you from taking action.
Exactly.
So it's magical in a poetic sense, like anything beautiful is magical, but it's not magical without, meaning not without law. But the laws of the imagination are different than the laws of the spiritual, which are very different than the laws of the physical. In the physical, there's like a real cause and effect. In the world of imagination, that's almost like a portal or an opening that allows nurturing for the cause and effect to happen a little more. The spiritual, the laws of that are often beyond our conscious control, and we can connect to them with our spiritual practices. But a big part of my method is surrender, which is not the same as not being present. It's the closest religious thing is thy will be done, but it's not like I'm not doing anything. It's like guide me, not like, okay, whatever happens is fine. There's a little bit of that, but okay. So what the method is, I'm going to describe the simplest way I get people started. And people can get started cooling down their own tumors, taking away their own pain with a video that I did. I call it my octave resonance spinning technique. And this is a hugely simplified version of what I learned from Bankston. And it's more than that. It's a combination of a simplified version of what I learned from Bankston and my experience as a sound healer, where I use resonance and vibration and frequency to shift your energy field. So the first thing to acknowledge is that you're not just a bag of bones and blood, that you're also a system of energy flows. And you know this by looking at a real flower and a plastic flower. One is alive and one is not alive. One has a life force that you can tell. You can certainly tell the difference between a dead animal and a sleeping animal. They're breathing. There's just a liveliness to that. So you don't have to be woo-woo. You don't have to believe in it. You can just observe that when something's living, there's a quality that you can really pay attention to. And part of what I do is I help my patients pay attention to that quality of the chi and their life force. And then the next, so there's the physical, which is sort of cause and effect. There's this life force level, and the physical affects the life force. The life force affects the physical. So, for example, if you're at the end of your normal lifespan, my method doesn't seem to work very well. But if you're young, it seems to work a little better. And I think that's one of the reasons why you might have gotten better faster as you were younger when it happened. Maybe. Then the next level up is emotions and images. And the rules of emotions and images, this is like psychology. This is positive thinking. This is where our beliefs come in. And they are powerful filters that block us from any sort of higher information, so to speak, or even the lower information. It's like we can block our healing by being too stressed, by being scared, by disbelief. We can also block our healing by belief. Like strong belief and strong disbelief are actually closers. They're saying, this is my world. Nothing else is coming into it. And if I align with this world, it will work. But actually, a better attitude is to say, okay, this is what my world is. Can I please have an opening? Because my world doesn't include a cancer cure. You know, it's like I'm at the end of my rope. I need something beyond what I can do, but I don't want to lose my perspective on life. But I would like something that's truer, something that maybe I don't know yet, something that's beyond my ability to perceive now to become perceptible. And so I would call that like the spiritual coming into our awareness, and that affects downstream. And this octave resonance spinning technique, which I'll explain in just a minute, people can watch the video and cool down their tumors. And that's not a cancer cure, but it gives you like feedback. Like, oh my gosh, I did that, and my tumor was hot, and now it's not. Now, if you have a little tiny tumor deep inside your lungs, you're not going to feel it. But if you have a blasting hot breast tumor, you can feel it. So my method is observation-based, not belief-based. You have to be interested, you have to be curious. Okay, so let's see. So basically what you do with this very simple method is that you imagine that you have a ball of light spinning on top of your head, very, very, very fast. And it's going so fast that it becomes that light. So it could go slower and be the speed of a sound. It could go slower and be the speed of a bicycle tire going around. But we're going so fast, it's like the speed of a white light or a blue light or a green light. And you just imagine that up there. And then you touch somebody with the tumor. And if you're doing it yourself, you just pay attention to your own tumor. And often people don't do that because it's too friggin' simple. So if you're listening to this and go, oh, that's too simple, that couldn't work, I challenge you to just try it, because something will shift. It might not be that your tumor cools down completely. It might be. But you'll go, oh, I just did that, and something changed. Something changed physically. I feel either really sleepy or really awake. So my life force changed. I'm actually sort of interested or curious, or this is making me angry. So your emotions get involved. And then somehow it either gains meaning or loses meaning for you, which would be the spiritual. So you investigate it, and it would take 10 minutes. Should I put the link to that in this video, or should we append it later?
Yeah, I will for sure put all the links that you refer below, because I think it's very, very nice to have all the information for people who want to understand it better, of course.
So the reason I did that method and I made it so simple, something that you could do in 5 minutes on YouTube, is I wanted to overcome this barrier of, oh, Suzanne's special, she's a great healer, but I don't have the time, the money, the wherewithal, and nobody will like me if I do this. They'll think I'm crazy. Like all those things, like you can just go over to YouTube and try it. And that will get you over the hump of maybe like, oh, this is actually something I can relate to. This isn't something that is so foreign that it's like bizarre.
I have another reflection when we are talking. What was actually interesting for me, I remember during our sessions, but also during my healing journey, is that before I was always someone who lived more in my mind. I invest a lot on my mind, education, work, different projects, and so on. So once I had to pay attention and observe my body, it was like Chinese for me. What do you mean observe my body? You know, I remember when you were explaining, or other people, you know, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it this? It's like a basic thing.
What just shifted? Something just shifted. Like I do that a lot, like because I can tell, and since I'm intuitive, like something just shifted. What was it? And you go, well, I just started breathing different. And you go, that was it. That was it.
Exactly. So it's super nice for us to just explain that the shift is like, oh, I yawn, or I change the breathing patterns, because it's actually it was for me, and I know it's for many people, it's something new to pay attention inwards and know the language of your body, not the body of someone else, but yours. And how to react that. So I noticed that you are talking about, observe yourself, what is happening, because for me, one of the questions I also have is like, and you just answer it, like, how people can measure, is it something happening? Because when they go to hospital and I have a needle, I see, okay, that was this, the liquid was here, and then is this, okay. Whatever happened, I'm just simplifying. But I just want for people to understand that they also can't measure and observe, as you just explained, that how they feel, like from 0 to 10, on the level of pain or the level of like health. Cool.
So I wrote this book.
Yeah.
There is Another Way, Energy Medicine for Pets with Cancer. And in there's a whole chapter on how to tell if it's working. And
perfect. It's on Amazon. Where do people can buy it? It's on your
on Amazon. This is on Amazon. All right. And it's practically free on Kindle. So, and it's a quick read. You can see it's small. But this is my primer for people, not just people have another layer that they need to, like, people I think need to be either senile or involved, because our consciousness seems to interfere with the process, and animals don't seem to do that. So they can have the method done at them. Maybe I haven't done a lot of children, so I don't know that if children would need that, but how to tell if it's working. And I divide this because there's many, many ways. So on a physical level, your tumor cools down. You can get blood tests and scans ordered from your doctor. That's a way. Maybe you can't tell right that red hot second, but you can tell. You can ask your doctor. You get a fever. A naturally healing tumor usually has a fever associated with it, so that's always a positive sign. The tumor gets larger and softer, not larger and harder. That's a good sign.
That's important, I think, because people can get scary when they see that it's growing, let's say.
And that's when my clients, I say, just call me then and let me help you work through it, because I can tune in and I can sense what I'm sensing and let you know what. And then it's not like you believe in me. You just say, okay, Suzanne sensed that the tumor's growing over here, but shrinking over there. So this is a good thing to ask my oncologist.
Okay.
Okay. So like the tumor left my bladder, but it grew into the wall. You can ask your oncologist, has he ever seen a tumor shrinking from one area? Usually that's very unusual. Tumors usually just grow. They don't remodel and put themselves in other places, like retreat from one place and go into another. That's not very common. So that's something the oncologist would be able to do that. And sometimes the tumor just extrudes off the body and can fall off. But that's unusual. Usually it's slower than that. On the life force level, I take this from research. Okay, this is my clinical experience, but also from Bankston's research. That the mice that were cured of cancer still had tumors grow on them. But instead of laying around listless and no appetite and hardly, just getting withering as they go towards death after 29 days or whatever it was, they have these tumors, but they're bipping and bopping and they're happy and they're feeling better all the time. And actually this life force, if you're dying from cancer, your life force recedes.
Yeah.
And it's something you can tell. It's not, you can tell if you feel like you're dying or not. And it's not just emotional. You actually feel your body withering if you're dying, and you feel your body replenishing if you're not. And so is it as strong as a PET scan or something like that? No, but it really gives you something to pay attention to. And this is where my coaching is. I actually train patients to do most of the therapy themselves on their family and friends or on their dogs and cats, because really you just need to do the method, and I come in to make sure that you're doing it. And if you have questions like, what does this mean, what does that mean, and I let you know what I think. And I could be wrong, but I give you my professional opinion, having specialized in it and knowing a lot. So if you're healing, you usually sleep better, you have better digestion, you just feel the light in your eyes seems better, your hair works better. There's just a vibrancy that takes over you if you're healing. And then emotionally, you have healing emotions. So suddenly you're able to forgive whoever hurt you a long time ago that might have been part of your cancer, and you've worked forever in therapy, and suddenly like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like that's a sign of healing when you can suddenly, release old emotions.
Yeah, I just want to pause for a moment because I find it super, super important, because I know that now most of people know that you have to, you are invited to work on your emotions during the cancer treatment. And yeah, I think that many people find it difficult, especially to forgive, because they say, oh yeah, I forgave and so on, but they didn't. So it's very, very interesting to know that with this kind of technique, it's like a, you know, a holistic tool. It can also help with the difficult process of healing emotions.
Yeah. And my sense is that a lot of people say that difficult emotions cause cancer. And if they can just get to that emotion that caused the cancer and do the forgiveness or the special work, that their cancer will unravel and get better. And I treat that the same as nutrition and radiation, like all the other causes of cancer. I feel like the cause of cancer is so much deeper than that. And that the soul injury, the emotional injury, or maybe why you were around that radiation and got cancer, or why you had this terrible lifestyle, why there was this abuse, like that, it all came together in one holistic lump. And to try to say that this one little piece was the cause is not accurate, I think, and will keep you from seeing it as a whole.
Yeah, you know, I
Doesn't
think,
mean you don't work on your emotions. It's just that it's, you
yeah,
can't, people cling to the cure, you know, and it has to be has to be looser.
yeah. I appreciated this also because for me, and I'm writing in my book, and I talk about that a lot. It was like a grace that I did not really focus on why, because simply I didn't find it useful. And what I really appreciate, and I really remember what happened when I started to work with you. I was in the situation where, you know, my tests were very bad. So of course I was worried. I didn't know what to do. And with
You
the,
had like a 6-year-old daughter too, or something, right? Your daughter was very.
yeah, and my son, yeah, of course, both of the others. What happened immediately, I would say, if shift of my focus. So instead of, yeah, worrying, you know, really didn't know what to do, I had like a, yeah, I was focusing on learning the method, which was really positive, causing me to really feel juicy and energized again. First, of course, in my imagination, but later in my body also. So I find it, this shift, I really remember from, you know, like it was yesterday. This, and it was very fast, like before the healing, I would say, like the shift. Okay, we are not looking at that direction. We are looking at this direction. Yeah, that, yeah.
And I would say, because we started this out as like, how do people glance right over the cure and they'd miss it? And I think that you had the wherewithal to say, oh, it's happening. And then it's sort of built on its other, whereas other people might have had a positive feeling, but then discounted it and say, oh, that couldn't be it. Like just the sighing on the tumor, oh, that's not the cure. You know, it's like, yeah, but when you get like 10 or 15 or 20 of these going on, you're realizing something is happening that is really good. And then you suddenly get the energy and the time to do whatever it takes to do the actions.
Yeah.
I think asking somebody to do all the actions without that connection is hard. But that connection, I think, comes from your heart, and your heart knows. And if your heart is feeling something, I would encourage you to soften with it and explore. And I always feel like people have enough time and enough consciousness to take their next step. And it can be a baby step. It can be a baby, and then you get a little more, and then you just keep opening your heart to the possibility of healing.
Yeah, I love it, because I know that especially in this disease, there's a lot of fear involved. And of course, when you are in fear and you are stressed, you're often paralyzed, and it's hard to open. It's hard to look and welcome the opportunities that come in your way. So this ability of focusing on your heart and managing your heart is excellent advice, and this baby steps going towards. So for
But you
people
go in and
who
out of that. It's important in my system to not repress your fear. Because if you just pretend like, oh, I'm positive, when you're really, really terrified, that can aggravate cancer. So you don't want to do that. But
yeah,
you want to still be positive. So what I tell people is this, the emotional block to your healing. If you can spin your ball of light while you're feeling terror, and you get terror, not just fear, it's terror often when you have cancer. What happens is instead of it racking your body so that you can't even function, it goes away in like a minute or 5. So you're not living in the terror. If you can just face your terror for a few minutes and do this spinning exercise while you're there with it, it just takes the energy out of it, and you did not suppress it. It's almost like you fast forwarded it. So instead of it lasting 2 days, it lasted 2 minutes. And it's a tremendously wonderful tool to not suppress negative emotion and get right back into your positive self, which of course we want to be in as much as possible. But we don't want, healing happens in the here and now. And as we heal, really grungy, gucky stuff, emotional stuff wafts through our energy field as we heal. And you might feel that as it comes up, and you don't want to suppress it. You want to just like, oh, there's some deep grief coming out. Let me cry for a moment, or let me just honor the fact that like nothing really sad happened in the last 10 minutes, and yet suddenly I feel this deep grief. Then you turn on your spinning, and you're suddenly the witness to it rather than just the being lost in the emotion. And that's another piece of how the method works, is that you don't suppress your emotions, you witness them. And of course you try to focus on positive emotions, but you don't hang on to them, and you don't feel like, oh, I just got scared, so that's going to kill me, so I shouldn't do that. It's not like that at all. It's really about being yourself, being your authentic self.
Oh, I think it's very important what you just described, because yes, I think we have this judgmental voice in our heads, like there is one correct way, and of course there isn't. And I think what I can add to that is what is not so obvious is that healing is a messy process. And we wish, or I used to think that, oh, I would like to like this, like in hospital everything is so clear and everything like so white. And the healing is not like that. The healing is messy and it's unpredictable, and that's unknown. And of course we as a human, we don't like unknown things. But yeah, this is the healing process. There is so much incredible information that you just share. I am thanking you so much. And if someone is curious about what you just described, how it can contact you, but also if you can share what kind of ways of working you have.
Okay, sure. So my website is spiritgate.com, and that refers to my clients' gate to their spirit, not mine. So I hopefully facilitate people's thing to their spiritual dimension, the information field that allows them to heal. So you can go to my Cancer Frequently Asked Questions tab on that website. You can go to my YouTube channel. There's also a Cancer Frequently Asked Questions playlist there. There's and then on my website there's an introductory masterclass. It's a 1-hour training on how to give a hands-on healing. Then I demonstrate on my dog, but the same thing happens with people. You can do the very same principles with people. And that's a nice place to get started. I also have a free Facebook group. It's called Spirit Gate Cancer Support. And I give a free distance healing there every Friday right now. I don't know when, it's weekly.
Every week, yes.
Every week. And we have a really great group of healers in there, and people are reporting just, really good things there. So that's good. And then, after you do that, then I do a complimentary get acquainted call if you want to work with me privately. And I really get it that it's a hard thing to it takes some information. Many of my patients like to go look at Bill Bankston videos to see all the research, so they don't think they're crazy doing energy healing. Most of my clients tend to be very smart, educated people because I want you to observe. So you have to have that ability to observe. And if you just want to like pay for a healing, then you're probably not my right client, because I need you to be participating and paying attention to things. And it's things that you can pay it. I teach you what to notice. So it's not like you have to be, super intuitive. You don't. In fact, sometimes it helps not to be because you're very grounded and matter of fact, and that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. So there we
Yeah,
go.
thank you. I confirm that I remember also, this guidance step by step. So it's not that I had to, I don't know, read a book or something. You always there with your guidance, and I think it's if you are curious or someone who is really looking for solutions, it's definitely worth giving a try, because listen, there are no negative side effects, only positive one. Because from this method, I not only got my healing, but other stuff in my, let's say, manifestation world happen, which were like nice bonus to everything. So it's definitely worth something to get curious. And it doesn't cost anything to just watch some videos and then do a next baby step. Contacting you, Suzanne, is, I guess, also very easy through your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nothing.
through the website. Yeah, or Suzanne at spiritgate.com. You can email me.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
we invite you to do so. And thank you so much, Suzanne, for your time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me. And great. Okay. Take care.